Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the 48th night here on Uncle Three's Ghost Story channel. Tonight, we're keeping that series going about the infamous Thuan Kieu apartment complex. This time, the stories are all about the spooky stuff happening around Thuan Kieu Plaza and how it links back to that building. I actually heard this particular tale from a coffee lady who runs a little stand near the plaza. And get this, her husband is the star of this nightmare. Now, tell me, have you ever heard of a guy drinking with a ghost? Not just drinking, but demanding to become soulmates with one? Seriously, folks, no kidding. The story starts with this fella, we'll call him Chiao, who was about 43 years old when the most terrifying night of his life happened. Chiao drove a cargo tricycle, meaning he'd haul anything for money. But here's the thing about old Chiao. He was lazy. He was super strong, but he'd rather use that strength for drinking than working. While other guys in his line of work might make 20 trips a day, Chiao would do 5 or 6 and then stop to drink beer or alcohol. He lived life totally recklessly, only worrying about where his next meal or nap was coming from. And if that wasn't bad enough, Chiao had another rotten habit. He loved to pick fights. Once he had a little liquor in him, he'd walk around looking for trouble. The only saving grace in this poor man's miserable life was his wife, Mrs. Chiao. She's the one who sold coffee, and whenever customers stopped by her little sidewalk stall near the complex, she'd share all the chilling ghost stories about Thuan Kieu. Mrs. Chiao was a hard-working woman, bless her heart, trying to make up for her husband's total recklessness. Now, Chiao had this weird quirk about drinking. Let me explain. If he saw friends, or even just acquaintances, eating a meal or having a party, heck, even if they were complete strangers, he'd dive right in. Why? So he could sell his liquor and share it with them. The folks in the working class back then weren't too strict about these little things. So if Chiao brought the alcohol, people were usually happy to share their food. But life isn't always easy, is it? That afternoon, Chiao had already been drinking that morning and then slept until the evening. He still had a bit of that devil's brew in him as he wandered around the Thuan Kieu area. That's when he spotted a middle-aged man about his age, happily eating a plate of fried fish balls off a wooden stand. Chiao was thrilled. He grabbed his bottle of liquor and swaggered over. He said, "Hey buddy, let's drink together. I got the liquor, you got the snack. This'll be fun." But the other guy shot him down. "I'm not drinking with you. I bought these fish balls to eat. I don't have all day to drink like you do." Oh boy, Chiao felt totally humiliated, with the liquor pumping in his veins. He lost it. Chiao shouted back, "You talk to me like that, you bastard? Do you know who I am?" Before the man could respond, Chiao knocked the plate of fish balls right onto the ground. You can guess what happened next. They went at it, fists flying. Since Chiao was a significant, strong cargo tricycle driver, he completely overwhelmed the other guy, beating him until he couldn't even get up. Neighbors heard the racket and rushed over to break it up. Mrs. Chiao even left her coffee stand and ran over too. Nobody was surprised. Everyone knew Chiao was the cause, as this wasn't his first time picking a fight. But this time, things took a truly sinister turn. Standing near the Thuan Kieu complex fueled by rage. Chiao yelled something terrifying. He screamed, "You think I'm scared of you? I'd chop your head right off. Even if you become a ghost or a demon, I'm not afraid." The other guy, who was just as angry, yelled back, "Go on, chop it off. I'll become a headless ghost and come back to haunt you." They traded insults for a while longer until the fishbowl guy finally walked away. Mrs. Chiao was absolutely furious. She told him off, saying she was tired of him causing trouble and that he should take responsibility for the family. Poor woman. Life was hard enough, and her husband was a total goofball. She was so mad that she packed up and went to stay at her aunt's house. Everyone figured things would go back to normal. But listen to this. That very night, Mrs. Chiao got a call from the district police. It was around 4 or 5 a.m. The police told her that her husband, Chiao, had passed out and had to be rushed to the hospital immediately. Holy smokes! Mrs. Chiao immediately ran to the emergency room. When she got there, her husband was no longer in critical danger, but he was suffering from a high fever and mild convulsions. She had no idea what had happened. The police explained that neighbors had called them because Chiao was acting bizarrely, running in the street, stopping to vomit, and then collapsing on the ground. After they found his ID, the doctors called the police, who then contacted Mrs. Chiao. Chiao spent the entire night in the hospital, shaken and burning up with fever. He couldn't speak, only making confused moaning sounds. He finally woke up the next morning, feeling incredibly weak. Since they didn't have much money, Mrs. Chiao had him discharged that day. She nursed him at home, and it took about a month for him to recover fully. When he finally came around, the very first thing he said to his wife was, "I'm not drinking anymore, honey. I swear I'm quitting." His wife was totally shocked. No way Chiao was giving up drinking, just like that. A little while later, he told her the whole unbelievable story. After Mrs. Chiao left that night, he kept drinking. He eventually passed out until about 11 or 12 a.m. when he was woken up by someone calling his name. He looked outside his wife's coffee stand but didn't see anyone. Thinking maybe someone wanted coffee or soda, he stepped out. In the deep shadow, he looked toward the exact spot where he had fought the man earlier that day. And there he was, a figure sitting on the same wooden stall, facing Chiao. Chiao walked over to talk, and that's when he smelled it. An incredibly delicious aroma. For a seasoned drinker like Chiao, he knew immediately what that meant. He grabbed a bottle of white liquor and quickly approached the person. Just like before, the other guy had the snack, and Chiao had the booze. A perfect match for a soulmate meeting. Chiao stepped right up and said, "Hey, let's share a drink for fun." The situation was the same as the afternoon, but this time, the shadowy figure replied, "Okay, let's drink." And so, the two strange men started drinking. It was dark, so Chiao could only make out that the other person was a man, but he couldn't see the details clearly. Chiao didn't care anyway. "What are we drinking with tonight? It smells amazing," Chiao asked. The man replied, "Intestines, liver, heart." Chiao exclaimed, "Wow, that sounds delicious. Why did you buy all this stuff so late? Do you have any liquor?" The man said, "I eat this stuff all the time. I don't eat rice. I just eat guts, intestines, and liver. I only have liquor because you came over and asked me to drink with you. Usually, I just eat them plain." Chiao was delighted. He thought, "Great food, great booze. I'm going to be drunk until morning." After a few drinks, Chiao started feeling sentimental and asked, "Where are you from, buddy?" The man pointed down at the wooden stall and said, "I live right here." Chiao was confused. "If you live here, where exactly? I've lived here for 20 years. Why haven't I ever seen you?" The man said, "I've lived here a long, long time, since way back when. My family used to live here. Back then, there were still train tracks right here." Whoa! This stunned Chiao. It was true that there used to be railway tracks near Thuan Kieu Plaza, but they were removed ages ago. Chiao realized the man must be 60 or older, about the age of his parents. He wondered how the man knew that history. The man simply said, "My parents didn't tell me. I lived here, so I know." Oh man, there were so many accidents here. People hit by cars, run over by trains. Chiao nodded, agreeing he'd heard about the accidents. But he never witnessed them because the area was already built up as the Thuan Kieu complex when he moved there. "How do you know all this?" he pressed. "Have you lived here for a very long time?" The man replied, "I've lived here for nearly 100 years, and I've never gone anywhere else." He then continued, "I came out tonight because I heard you arguing this afternoon. You were threatening to chop off that guy's head, saying you weren't scared even if he became a headless demon. So I came out to meet you." Chiao, totally drunk, thought the man was admiring him. Puffing his chest out, he bragged, "That's right, I've been here over 20 years, and nobody messes with me. I mean it. I'm not afraid of anything, even ghosts. Right now, if I met a headless demon, I still wouldn't be scared." The man then asked, "Do you know what a headless demon looks like? Have you ever met one?" Chiao chuckled and said, "No, I've never met one." As Chiao was looking down, pouring the liquor, the man said, "Well, take a look and see if it looks like this." Chiao looked up and his body instantly went stiff. The person he'd been talking to for the last hour had no head. The man's head was resting right in his own hand, and the mouth was moving, smiling a gruesome, savage grin. Chiao was absolutely paralyzed with fear. His arms and legs were completely stiff. He couldn't even crawl away. Before Chiao could even process the horror, the headless man spoke again. "Now you see what a headless person looks like? And all the food you were eating? Those were my guts. I was killed right here, run over by a train. Everyone else runs from me, but you're not scared. I think you and I should be soulmates. How about we drink together every night? I've got plenty of guts, liver, heart, and kidneys. No shortage here. They couldn't gather all my body parts after the train hit me, so my spirit is still here." Oh, the absolute terror. Chiao was witnessing and hearing everything, but he still couldn't run. To make matters worse, realizing he had just eaten the headless ghost's organs made him want to throw up everything immediately. It took almost 5 agonizing minutes before Chiao regained feeling in his legs. He ran as fast as he could to the busiest part of the road, screaming and vomiting. People rushed him to the hospital immediately. The doctors had to clean out his insides. And here's the unbelievable part. When they cleaned out his mouth and gut, they found nothing but mud and trash. The doctors wondered if the poor man was so destitute that he had resorted to eating dirt. After the procedure, Chiao was out of danger, but he remained in the hospital with a crippling fever. The horror didn't stop there though. While he was in the hospital, Chiao had a terrifying, vivid dream. He saw his entire family, his mother, his father, and even Mrs. Chiao. All of them had their heads chopped off. This dream was so absolute that when he finally woke up, he couldn't speak. He was so traumatized that it took a whole month for him to recover enough to tell his wife the story. Chiao finally told his wife, "Honey, that place is terrifying. That ghost said he lives in the apartment complex. Please, let's move somewhere else. I promise I'll work hard driving the tricycle. I'll make money. I promise I'll quit drinking. I won't cause trouble anymore. And I will never open my mouth and repeat crazy things." After that ordeal, Chiao really did stop causing trouble and stopped talking trash. Though he still drank occasionally, but way less than before. As for Mrs. Chiao, well, after having someone close to her witness the sheer mystery of that apartment complex, she had even more terrifying tales to tell about Thuan Kieu. You bet she did. That finishes up night 48. See you next time.